That priceless inheritance is at stake just 3 days from now, and a great red wave is forming. As sure as you're there, as sure as we're here together, that wave is forming, and they see it on all sides, and there's not a thing they can do about it. This is the fundamental question facing every voter in America. Do you want to be a nation ruled by the corrupt political class, or do you want to be governed by the American people? I ran for office 4 years ago because I could not sit by and watch any longer as a small group of Washington insiders continue to get rich, bleeding American dry. You're just bleeding America dry. Think of it. Closing our factories, opening our borders, outsourcing our industries, and letting foreign countries ravage our middle class. Career politicians spend trillions of dollars fighting foreign wars while letting our own cities crumble and decay. Here in Pennsylvania, you know this bitter and very painful betrayal all too well, better than most. The corrupt Washington class launched an economic war against this state. For decades, they targeted your steel mills, shut down your plants, and sent millions of your jobs overseas, all while lining their pockets with special interest cash. And no one embodies this betrayal and treachery more than Joe Biden. And worst of all, the suppressed media and big tech refuses to cover the crime. They refuse to cover. We've learned so much over the last 2 weeks. For 47 years, he supported every disastrous trade deal that enriched his cronies and impoverished your state. He wiped out Pennsylvania steel. He was the cheerleader for NAFTA and China's entry into the World Trade Organization. Pennsylvania lost 50% of your manufacturing jobs after those Biden disasters. Then Biden pushed the job-killing Paris Climate Accord, an economic nightmare for Pennsylvania miners and every worker in our country. He backed TPP, which would have extinguished the American auto industry forever. Forever. These betrayals not only made Biden's donors rich, they made his family rich. And as we know, he profited from the misery of unleashed work and horror given to Pennsylvania workers. He made a lot of money, and his family made a lot of money, and nobody knew about it until just recently. At the debate, I looked at him and said, Joe, you were here for 47 years, and you left only 3.5 years ago. Why didn't you do these things that you want done? Why didn't you fix it, Joe? And as you know, because I assume a number of you watched the debate, but as you know, he just looked at me and shrugged. In fact, the anchor looked up and said, "Why did you do it?" She couldn't believe it. She was on his side. She said, "Why did you do it? Why did you do it, and why did you say it?" In 2016, Pennsylvania voted to fire this failed and corrupt political establishment, and you voted for an outsider as president who is finally putting America first. And if I don't look like a typical politician, that's very simple. It's because I'm not a politician. If I don't always play by the rules of Washington and the Washington establishment, it's because I was elected to fight for you, and I fought harder for you than any president in the history of our country. From day one, Washington insiders have been trying to stop me because they do not own me and they do not control me. They want control. They don't like what I'm doing. They don't like what I've said to the big pharma, the drug companies, the number one lobbyist in the world, number one lobbyist in our country. They didn't like that I instituted favored nations so that we now pay the lowest prices in the world for prescription drugs instead of the highest prices in the world. If these corrupt forces succeed in electing Joe Biden, Washington will see to it that another outsider never becomes president again. It'll never happen again. And nobody has done in 3.5 years, nobody, no administration, no president, what we've done and what we've accomplished. And it's not even challenged. Nobody even challenges that. They'll take back control and they will never, ever give it up. This once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to beat the corrupt politicians will be lost forever, and they know it. They're fighting so hard, and they hate what they're seeing because they're not looking at fake suppression polls anymore. Now they're looking at the numbers that are pouring in, and they don't like the numbers that they're seeing in Florida and in Ohio and in North Carolina. And we think in Pennsylvania, although those numbers come in late, we think in Pennsylvania, they don't like it. They don't like it. They don't like what they see. And I just want to tell you that we have really, things have worked out so well for our country. Nobody had any idea that anything like this could ever happen. If you look at what's going on with, over the last 4 years, we've been building the biggest, strongest, and most secure middle class in human history. We built the most powerful military anywhere in the world. And over the next 4 years, we will make it even stronger like nobody thought even possible. Do not be intimidated by our opponents' angry and menacing tone, because if we were, we would never have been able to accomplish what we've accomplished. In truth, they are actually terrified of you, the people. They're terrified. They're terrified that you will discover that you have the power to end their corrupt rule once and for all. We have to do it. When you see what's going on, we have to do it. We don't have a choice. Somebody said, "Do you enjoy this?" I said, "It's not a question of enjoyment. Believe it or not, I do. I shouldn't. Have to go check something, but I shouldn't." But, today we're doing 3 rallies. Tomorrow we're doing 5, and the smallest crowd will be 25,000 people. Then on Monday we're doing 5 or 6, and I can't tell you what's going to happen. I think we'll just go home and rest. But they don't get to decide this election. This is your choice. You have to be very careful. You have to be very, very careful, especially in this state, more than any other state. They say you have to be very, very careful. What happens in Philadelphia, we have to be everybody has to watch, vigilant. Your decision, your future is at stake. As your president, I don't answer to the special interests of no interest in me. I don't take instructions from donors and lobbyists. I don't care about them. I don't care about them. I don't take my orders from the media, or as I affectionately call them, the fake news media. And as you know, they've turned out to be far more fake than we ever thought. And they've really turned out to be corrupt. They are corrupt. They are really corrupt. The word fake is not strong enough, especially after what we've seen, where stories, major stories, the biggest story anywhere in the world is absolutely not covered. It's hard to have scandal when you have no coverage. And they work in conjunction with big tech, and they protect each other, and they protect the Democrats, because with the Democrats, you don't have somebody up talking like I do about them. So they can do whatever they want, and this will only lead to very bad things. I do what is right for America. I do what's right for America. It's made me a lot of enemies in Washington, but I wear their opposition as a badge of honor. Winston Churchill once said that it was a nation that had the lion heart. I had the luck to give it the roar. I gave it the roar, and there is a roar, and people hear it all over. They heard it 4 years ago, loud and clear. Probably the biggest thing to happen. They talk Brexit, they talk many, numerous things, but this is always number one. What happened? 2016. And I will say, 2016 was an incredible, earth-shaking event. But 2020, and I never thought I'd say this, 2020, what we're doing right now through Tuesday, what we're doing is far bigger. It's far bigger. I never thought I'd say it. I never thought 4 years ago, and you never did either, somebody would say that this is going to be the most